Dr. Mark Changizi here with your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about LLMs and ChatGPT and all the rise of AI, and give you another way of thinking about it that I think should help at least give you a different perspective. Let me start, and the perspective will be, look, they're not as intelligent as you think, or another way to say it is, where is the intelligence that they're leveraging? And trying to understand that intelligence and where it comes from. So let me give you an example. So you may have seen during the election Polymarket. Polymarket's one of these companies that engages in sort of acute markets about predictions about various kinds of events. And so people are willing to bet a certain amount. Let's say Trump is going to win. So for a while it might have been 50-50 for some months. And as it approaches, it's clear that Trump is going to win. So the price to bet on that is a little bit higher, and you have you wouldn't get rewarded very much if you did bet on it, but there's a really long odds or big payouts if you were to bet on, let's say, Kamala on that same day of the election, because it was clear to the crowd that she was not going to win. So it still incentivizes people to say, well, it's a long odds, but I think it's not providing enough payoff. I think it's actually a higher probability than what it's suggesting. So I think I'm still going to bet on Kamala, even though I don't think she's going to win. I think the probability is higher than what the market's saying. So these things self-correct, and it provides a kind of wisdom about what's going to happen in the election based upon the current wisdom of the crowd and all the current information that they together as a community know. Now, this is not just happening for that kind of prediction, but there's hundreds, and you could potentially have thousands or tens of thousands of different kinds of predictions about upcoming events. And so something like Polymarket in the world of such prediction markets can have whole suites of predictions at any given time about what the current state, given everything that we know about what's going to happen about hundreds or thousands of different kinds of things. So now you can imagine different kinds of AI, different kinds of automated software that takes all that information. It says, based on all of these markets, and now we can say, look, here's these things that we can predict, or here's these things that we should do with our money, or what we should do with our business, or how we should plan our travels on the basis of all of these predictions that are out there. And we're on the fly, let's say, utilizing them all to come up with optimal predictions, or in many different realms it might be. Now there's going to be worse such automated algorithms and better automated algorithms, and people could say about these automated algorithms, wow, there's this new one, it's really smart. It's able to do all these things and handle travel through the city, and it's, again, the idea is it's using all these prediction markets. And there are going to be dumber ones that are not as good, and they might be evolving and getting better and better. But where is the real intelligence? Now, of course, some of them are more intelligent than others, which suggests there is some variation in intelligence amongst these automated softwares. But the intelligence that they're all resting on top of is this huge pile of intelligence, and that intelligence is not in those automated algorithms that I'm talking about, sort of this thought experiment. That intelligence comes from the crowd and comes from market mechanisms, free market mechanisms in this kind of betting markets, that pulls from the crowd all of this intelligence. So it would be strange to come on and say, yeah, my automated algorithm is so much better than your automated. Look how smart these AIs are. You would say, well, yeah, they're smart, but because they're having access to these tremendously complex markets that Polymarket in this case, and they're not paying me for talking about them as the market, that Polymarket has tapped into and incentivized all of these humans to give all of their independent judgments and come up with the wisdom that is pulled out of that. So these automated algorithms would be resting on the market wisdom, the market-induced wisdom of crowds. Now, LLMs, the AIs that we're talking about today, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, and so forth, are in fact the same. It's just that we don't really think of the entire history of humankind as a market. But that's what it is. The marketplace of ideas and the free market are two sides of the same coin. And they weren't always free, but to the extent that there have been free markets and free expression, a free marketplace of ideas over time, some people rising in reputation, those ideas rising in reputation and spreading horizontally across, and the kind of competition that occurs through all of the complex interactions and vying for better ideas, and all that has happened over thousands of years, and disproportionately so as we got more recent. That is a market. All of those market mechanisms are what created the massive piles of data that get absorbed by these LLMs. So when people say, well, I mean, it's big data. So you go, oh, it's just all this big data. No, it's not just a bunch of humans that generated stuff from their separate labs. It's not just a bunch of human data that misses the mechanism by which that data came to be. That data came to be in a similar sort of way that Polymarkets pulls the wisdom from all of these humans. It's just that it happened over thousands of years or many centuries, and it happened through countless different kinds of venues, and some of it was purely within academia, some of it was within magazines, some within newspapers, some with just regular people arguing within the public square. All of these complex, disparate kinds of interactions is a marketplace. Right? Free expression itself, the marketplace of ideas, is a marketplace. When I argue and I say something wrong, I lose reputation. It is a marketplace where social currency or reputation is the currency that is lost or gained. It is only through those many centuries of that market that has then settled out all of this structure, this massive structure, this intelligence that's there, much infinitely richer than the kinds of things that Polymarket can do on an acute basis, right? And it's all out there. It's all distributed in complex ways, all out there, and we all get a little glimpse of it when we're trained and through schooling. But it's that which is being fed into LLMs. And LLM's real genius is not that it's doing anything. It's just the same stuff over and over again, same kind of matrix calculations, putting it into hierarchies. And what it's doing is just pulling out and summarizing the wisdom that those markets pulled out from us over those many centuries. So Grok could say, hey, we're smarter than Claude now, and that's smarter than ChatGPT at 4.0 versus 3 high, or whatever these different kinds of things are. Sure, that's like these people arguing about their automated algorithms concerning utilizing all of Polymarket's predictions, better or worse. And so most of us in the public are thinking, oh gosh, Grok is really super smart. These are incredibly powerful agents. Their agency to their intelligence, 99.9999% of it, right, is coming from the markets, the implicit markets and marketplace of ideas that all of our ancestors and us during our lifetimes have accrued through these complex interactions. It's the free markets. It's free markets. It's free association. It's free expression is the bread and butter for how this data, this complex, rich data, occurred in the first place. All of that wisdom, all of that intelligence is out there due to those sorts of free markets generalized. AIs today aren't smart per se because they're smart. They're smart because they've been able to absorb the intelligence that free markets and free expression have allowed us to grow and distribute it all over society. Right? It's a different way of understanding the intelligence that you find in LLMs, and it's a different way of defending free expression, and it's a different way of defending free association, free markets. It's exactly that kind of freedom and the markets that occur by virtue of that kind of freedom that has allowed these kinds of brilliant, intelligent things. It's really just them allowing us to see for the first time in a really transparent fashion, and in an queryable fashion, just how rich and intelligent the market mechanisms have allowed us to grow ideas. And that was your science moment. If you're interested in how free expression itself works, the foundations of free expression and the flow of reputation through networks, get a copy of Tim Barber and my recent book, Expressly Human. And if you haven't gotten a copy, you can pre-order the paperback of my new book, Motorcycle Mind, on the science behind the experience of the ride. In a sense, it required all of the research that I've done through all of my last books. And so even though it's focused on a peculiar thing, the motorcycle ride, rather than something that Einstein would have asked about, motorcycle ride is fundamentally different than anything that you've experienced. It turns you one with the bike in ways that no other thing that you've ever experienced does. I think even non-motorcyclists will like it. Get a copy today.